Hey guys, before I start the podcast, a quick introduction. My name is Warnith and I'm the founder of Pet Excel Marketing. Pet Excel Marketing is a marketing agency that specifically works with pet businesses. Over the years, we have worked with pet food brand, pet relocation businesses, pet SaaS companies, pet clothing brand, cat food businesses, dog grooming services, and many other product and service-based pet businesses globally. Our services includes everything from creating graphics to running your ad campaign. Not only that, we have built amazing websites and apps for pet businesses. So if you have a pet business and would like us to help grow it, click on the first link in the description to book a call with our team. Now enjoy the podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to Pet Brand Podcast, the go-to show where we dive deep into the world of pet businesses, innovation, and marketing strategies that help brands thrive in the pet industry. I'm your host Varneth, and each week we bring you inspiring stories and expert insight from the people shaping the future of pet brands. Today we have an incredible guest on the show, Alison Gordon, the visionary founder and CEO of Feed for Thought, Australia's first net carbon neutral dog food brand. So in this episode, we will explore into how her experience in extreme climate led her to launch Feed for Thought, the science and benefits of insect protein for dogs, the biggest challenge of marketing an innovative pet food brand. So if you're a pet business owner and entrepreneur or someone passionate about sustainability in pet care, this episode is packed with insight you don't want to miss. So let's jump right in. Alison, thank you so much for taking your time and being on this podcast.
I appreciate the invite, Bennett. Lovely to meet you.
Great, great, great. So yeah, let's get started from the beginning. Like every great business begins with a spark of inspiration, right? And for some, it's a personal experience. For others, it's a realization about a problem that needs solving. So, Alison, like, can you take us back to the moment, like when you decided to start Feed for Thought, and like what inspired you?
Yeah, I'd started an insect farm, so a pilot's black soldier fly larvae farm, because every girl's dream is to be a maggot farmer. So I did that, and I'd take my dog with me. He's an ex serving military dog, an
Wow.
ex-combat dog. He's got a bunch of anxieties, but he'd come with me, and because of his anxieties, he was a bit of a fussy eater. But
Mm-hmm.
as I my fly farm, I would incidentally drop some of the dehydrated larvae, and he kept eating them. He just loved them, and as a fussy eater, this was a bit of a breakthrough. So I onboarded a vet and a vet nutritionist, and we started researching what was the benefit of this sort of protein for dogs, and that was the moment. I was like, right, I can do something with this protein. I'm going to turn it into dog food.
Mm-hmm. And also, like spending time in extreme environment can change your perspective of the world, especially when it comes to sustainability and resource scarcity. So, living in Antarctica and Arctic must have given you like a unique outlook. So, how did those experiences shape your mission for sustainable pet food?
Hugely, absolutely hugely. So we had sort of a captive audience down in the Arctic and Antarctic. We were living with a group of people, and they would constantly ask me, as the expedition leader, they would ask me if I was seeing the impacts of the changing climate on the polar regions. And I'd sort of liken it to a canary in a coal mine, so to speak. So you could see the second and third order effects over a period of time. So I would see things like penguin colonies moving, and I don't want to oversimplify. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but certainly one of them was the
Hmm.
fact that the sea ice distribution was changing. So you could see these penguin colonies moving. And another one was the fishermen. The fishermen in Kalatlit Nunat, which is what we know as Greenland, they were catching fish that they never used to be able to catch in those waters. And the reason was because the waters were warming up and the fish were migrating. So you could
Hmm.
see these factors and think, yes, something is happening. So I'd come home from my trips and I'd make small changes in my life. I'd ride my bike more, I'd reduce my meat intake, I'd use reusable shopping bags, all of those things. But then I would look at my dog and think, well, how do I reduce the impact that my dog is having?
Hmm.
And my research just through general reduction of impact led me to the black soldier fly larvae. They solve both a protein problem and cycle the food that we don't use, which diverts it from landfill. So you're solving a waste problem. And they create a protein that uses far less land and far less water. So they're solving both problems. And that was how it all came together for me. And that was how the polar regions inspired that change.
Hmm. And what do you think, like, what are the challenges did you face in the early days of like developing insect-based pet food?
I'd say twofold. The first was the insect protein industry. So I had my own farm and I was really enjoying learning about what substrate, so what to feed these insects to make them grow optimally and have a really great nutritional output. Coffee grinds, for instance, didn't work well. They didn't die, but they didn't grow. There wasn't enough nutrients in them.
Hmm.
The offcuts or the byproduct of the brewing process worked brilliantly. They really loved barley spent grains, but ultimately I needed a more reliable supply. And the insect protein industry at that point was nascent, so there wasn't a really good, reliable, steady supply. That's changed now. We've got some great farmers. It's a small industry, so we all know each other,
Yeah.
and I've got a really good supply. So that was a big challenge in the start. And the other big challenge was finding a manufacturer. No one wanted to take me on because they didn't want to put an unknown protein through their machines.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Eventually, I found this powerhouse woman who was willing to give it a go with me, and we
Hmm.
collaborated and we made a really great product. And then she had a factory fire. And her factory burnt down, and I had to start all over
Hmm.
again. Thankfully, no one was hurt in the factory fire, but that was a huge setback as well. So there were some pretty big initial challenges.
Hmm. And also, like every entrepreneur, just like you said, those challenges that you talked about, faces like moments of doubt, but there are also like breakthrough moments, like where everything clicks. So, what do you think? Like,
Yeah.
what was the biggest aha moment that confirmed you were on the right track?
I suppose I got a lot of really good feedback. So when I would explain this to people, it didn't take a lot of effort. It took a bit of time, but it would
Hmm.
be like saying, imagine drinking coffee out of a styrofoam cup or a reusable keep cup. Both are going to keep the coffee warm, but one of them's going to make you feel good. And this is a nutritious dog food. Lots of dog foods are nutritious, but this one's going to make you feel good. And people got that message. It was reinforced. When others would say that this dog food didn't exacerbate their dog's allergies. And there was also just a lot of gratitude from people for that, for giving them a food that their dogs could tolerate. So that was kind of my aha moment, was getting that feedback once I explained it.
Hmm. Talking more about the sustainability and ethical impact. So many companies talk about sustainability, but implementing carbon neutral practices is a different challenge altogether, right? So Feed for Thought promotes carbon neutral dining for dogs. So can you explain like how this works in practical terms?
I can. So we all have an impact. I'm using a source of protein that has a far less impact, about a quarter of the impact of traditional protein, but there's
Hmm.
still an impact. The insect farms need power. The transport has an emission. The manufacturing factories, they
Hmm.
have a footprint. We all have a footprint in every part of the process. So although I've reduced the protein side, what I wanted to do was measure the rest of it. And I used a great Australian company called Evaluate, actually, and they have a look at every single transaction your business makes in your accounting software, and they
Hmm.
have an industry standard against each of those transactions. So they can say, transport this far costs this many emissions. So they can break it all down. We had to go through an education process because they didn't have an industry standard for um,
Hmm.
how much you can save when you grow insect protein rather than normal traditional meat protein. But we worked through that. And so once I could measure it, then you can offset it. So that's the way the process worked. We came up with the term carbon neutral dining, but
Hmm.
it's hopefully a digestible way for people to understand that we are measuring and then offsetting what is
Hmm.
left.
Hmm. And also, becoming Australia's first net carbon neutral dog food brand is definitely a huge achievement. But getting there must have required careful planning and collaboration. So what do you think, like what does this milestone mean and how did you achieve it?
I, what does it mean? I feel like I've made a small contribution to a much bigger mission. There are some
Yeah.
really great
Yeah.
innovations out there that allow us to live our best lives while
Mhm.
also living within the means of the planet. I sought lots of advice from pioneers in the field of sustainability, like Australia's Heidi Hoff, and I also partnered with great organisations that use the best technology, like Evaluate, to measure the emissions. I love that it's becoming a more common conversation in the pet space, and there's a spotlight on what I see as an easy win, which is to reduce the environmental impact of pet ownership as we
Mhm.
try to reduce the environmental emissions in our own lives.
Mhm. Talking more about the science of insect protein, there are many insect protein sources available, from crickets to mealworms, right? But black soldier fly larva has become the preferred choice for many pet food innovators. So, why did you choose specifically a black soldier fly larva, and what makes them a superior protein source for dogs?
Ah, so they have some really strong antioxidant properties. So that's going to help reduce the inflammation in your dog. So that's one. They are naturally high in healthy fats like
Mm-hmm.
lauric acid. So you don't have to add this stuff in. They are naturally present. Lauric acid is really great for healthy skin and coat and also brain cognition. Most dog food sensitivities are triggered by meats. So the black soldier fly larvae is a novel protein that happens to have a really good nutritional profile for dogs, and dogs are much less likely to be sensitive to them. Also, when the black soldier fly moves through the dog's gut, their antimicrobial properties and peptides, plus a small amount of chitin, and you can find chitin in the skin of the black soldier fly larvae, they work
Yeah.
together to promote a healthy gut flora, reduce unhealthy bacteria, and encourage stool formation. And every dog owner wants to have good output. They don't want to pick
Yeah.
up terrible poo. So that's
Mm-hmm.
been a huge breakthrough as well.
Mm-hmm. And would you say, like, what kind of vet and nutritionist testing did you go through to before the launch?
So I have a vet who did the formulation with me, and then we checked all our homework with an external pet food formulator and nutritionist.
Mm-hmm.
So we really made sure we had that right. We did testing with our farmers, so we wanted to make sure that the insects that we were getting had a very consistent nutritional profile, so we knew that the end result was consistent. So we tested at the farming stage, and we also tested after manufacturing to make
Wow.
sure it was complete and balanced as we said it was. But I think
Mm-hmm.
the thing I'm most proud of is that we are about three-quarters of the way through a feed trial at the moment. And I know feed trials are expensive and hard for small businesses to do, but we've managed to do it. It's
Wow.
getting great results. And yeah, I'm just really proud that we've been managed to do that level of testing.
Mm-hmm. So Alison, like, how did you fund this everything, like in the early stages? Like, did you face difficulties convincing investors about insect-based pet food, or
Yeah.
is it like something bootstrapped that you have done on your own?
I bootstrapped for many, many years,
Yeah.
man, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
hard. I also had an angel investor that was supporting me through the R&D phase, and that is the phase where I made my own pilot farm. I did the R&D and the testing on the dog food. So for those years, and it was about 2.5 years, I was grateful enough to have an angel investor just to support that.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it's just the regular challenge of a small business trying to manage cash flow. I'm now
Yeah,
seeking Series A funding, which is great, but it is a tough landscape out there.
definitely.
It's not so hard actually to convince investors
Mm-hmm.
about insect-based pet food because
Yeah.
it's a feel-good solution. But
Mm-hmm.
the challenge is the fact that the pet industry is a busy industry, saturated with a lot of different products.
Definitely. Definitely. And getting your first customer is often harder than scaling a business. So it requires creative marketing and direct outreach. So can you share any strategies that worked well for you for getting your first customer?
Yeah, I remember my first customer it was very agricultural. I was on the ground at market stalls, face
Mhm.
to face with customers,
Yeah.
and that's what I got started. So I started really local. I tried a few creative things, like some what they term guerrilla marketing, putting
Mhm.
really sort of bold billboards and
Yeah. Yeah.
pictures up around
Mhm.
streets in some cities. They were okay, but I
Yeah.
suppose they potentially drove awareness, but I
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
measure an ROI.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
it's been the grind that has
Mhm.
been the most successful for me. That the face to face engaging with people, talking to people,
Yeah.
and giving them a good service.
Mhm. Definitely. And the sustainable pet industry is still growing, and many aspiring entrepreneurs are looking for ways to enter the space. So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to build a brand in this industry, in this specific space?
I would say be prepared for how much you have to educate people.
Yeah.
People are
Mm-hmm.
receptive and people are open to it
Mm-hmm.
mostly, but it takes time and money. That education phase, don't underestimate that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So what, like currently, like what is your biggest marketing challenge right now that you are struggling with, that you think that if this is solved, then your brand will scale up way better than it is right now?
I think probably there's still a bit of a like an ick or lick. Are people, is my dog going to find it gross or is he going to lick it right up? So the ick or
Mm-hmm.
lick factor. People are a bit worried that their dog won't like the food because they don't like the idea of eating insects themselves. We've done
Mm-hmm.
palatability testing, and there's also peer-reviewed science papers that show the palatability testing that others have done. And once I explain that, people are usually pretty good. And look, the palatability rates are higher than chicken meal, so it's very, very tasty to dogs. I found that offering people a 30-gram sample pack, that's been really successful. It takes the risk away for them. But yeah, that's probably one of the challenges, just fighting people's um, inherent bias away from feeding their
Yeah,
dog a bit
yeah, yeah,
more
yeah.
chicken.
And I think that will require a lot of education in the market.
Yeah. But also, I think it's helpful, like back to your previous question. I think if you find your niche, so if I was trying to market to everyone, I think I'd have a real struggle. I found that if I'm marketing to very specific people, I'll
Mm-hmm.
catch other people, but these are the people that are most likely to buy, and that is dogs, people who have dogs with allergies. That's my first niche, and my second niche is people who have a bent towards sustainability. So people who are already buying free range eggs, already using keep cups, already using reusable shopping bags. What's next for them? Or if they're vegetarian and vegan, that's often a really good sell as well. So I go deep into that market, and if I catch others, that's great. But I just can't. It doesn't work to market to everyone.
Mm-hmm. So is it like specifically like in the offline market, or you are marketing like in the online space too? Like
Uh,
any of the platforms which has worked best for you?
I've tried a few. At the moment, I've got some Instagram paid ads and they're doing pretty well. I'm getting a reasonable return on investment on those.
Mm,
I had Google ads before and they were not doing well, but I actually think it probably wasn't Google's fault. I think it was, I just hadn't created ads that were hitting the mark yet. So I think what I'll do is go back and create Google ads later. I'm
mhm,
working with a really great bunch of people who support small businesses in their marketing. They're an Australian company called Where You, and
mhm,
they have really helped me get these results with Instagram. So when I start Google Ads again, I think they'll be super supportive, and I'll be able to get a decent result there as well.
mhm, mhm,
But yeah, definitely Meta ads are working for me at the moment.
mhm. And beside this, like you are doing retail, and that's how you're getting a customer, right?
Mostly online sales.
Okay.
I in
Mm,
Yeah, mostly online, and then I'm now entering some retail spaces. So that's the sort of the next phase. It's pretty
mhm.
exciting.
Amazing. Uh, Talking more about the innovation of future and pet nutrition, the pet industry is evolving rapidly. In the growing interest in alternative proteins and sustainable diets, right? So how do you see the insect-based pet food evolving, let's say in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I would say, I won't name them, but two of the biggest global pet food companies have recently released insect protein formulas.
Mm,
So I think sustainable protein, sustainable food, and specifically insect protein pet food, it is normalizing fast. It is a very different landscape to when I started 4 years ago. The conversation is much more open. There is a far more awareness, and people are far more susceptible to the idea. So I think it is. I think it's moving fast. It's changing quickly, and I think that's a great thing.
mm. Or are there any, exciting product innovations you're working on, something in the pipeline?
Yes. So, in line with your previous question, where is the industry going? There's
Mm,
as I'm sure you've seen on your podcast, there's a big movement towards more fresh, less processed food. So we've got a lightly cooked fresh food, and we've rolled it out in Canberra in Australia because we can take care of the logistics there. The next development for that is looking at the cold chain logistics to be able to push it further afield. So we're really excited about the lightly cooked fresh product
mm,
because that's meeting those people who want to feed fresh or raw products to to their pets in all or part of their diet. So that's really exciting. We've got a hypoallergenic baked treat that's ready
Wow.
to go.
Mm.
So just for takes out grains and everything else that dogs could possibly be allergic to.
Mm.
And the last big one that we are starting on, but it's a tough one, is cat food.
Oh. Mm. Cat market is
That'll be in the
also
pipeline.
increasing. A lot of people who on the podcast they say like, okay, we need to focus on that too.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Talking about the community and the impact that you're creating. At the heart of every great brand is a loyal community of customers whose lives are changed by the product, right? So have there been any heartwarming stories from customers that reinforce their belief in your product?
There have been, Manette, and it's so beautiful to see.
Mm.
And I suppose that's the privilege of a small business. You do get to connect with the
Yeah,
community.
yeah, yeah, direct. Yeah.
I have a few customers that pets won't tolerate any other food other than mine, and they have a lot of gratitude for it.
Mm.
But I have, yeah, people tell me stories about their pets. I get to know their pets through their emails, and it's that's really beautiful. But I think something that happened recently, which is kind of heartbreaking, is one of my customers' dogs passed, and she was a big, beautiful dog, and I wept when I saw his email. But the fact that he emailed me and told me, and he closed with, "Don't worry, as soon as I get another dog, I'll be back buying your dog food." So, in his grief and his turmoil about losing his beautiful dog, he
Mm.
reassured me that he'll
Mm.
buy more of my dog food later. That
Mm.
was super heartwarming. And
Mm.
then recently, one of the guys that was participating in my food trial with his dog, he wrote to me and said, "After 3 weeks, my dog smells different, but in a good way." I don't really know
Yeah.
what that means, but she smells
Mm.
different in a good way. So I was pleased with that.
Mm. Love it, love it. Looking back, like there are always things that we wish we had done earlier, right? So in hindsight, because hindsight like gives clarity that new entrepreneurs often lack. So what do you think, like one piece of advice you wish you had received when you were starting Feed for Thought?
I wish I'd understood that no one else is going to care about my business like I do. People are going to come in and support, but it's not their business. They're
Yeah.
not as invested
Yeah.
as I am. And
Mm-hmm.
I was worried a lot about putting people out or nagging too much or being too persistent. I don't care anymore. I am bold and bolshy, and that's because I want to grow my business because it's doing good for dogs and it's doing good for the planet. And I'm not coy about that anymore. I don't mind if someone thinks, "Oh, she's rung me again," because I'm happy to connect with people. I'm happy to engage politely, but yeah, I took away that fear factor.
Mm-hmm. And last question from my end, Alison. What has been the most fulfilling moment in your journey so far with your brand?
I think holistically, it's really lovely to wake up every day and do something you believe in. And I know that's a privilege that not everyone gets. But if I
Yeah.
had to put it down to a single moment or event, I think I would choose the Vet Expo that I attended in Sydney last year.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of lovely vets that effectively validated what I was doing. They came by my stand, and every time they thought, insects, I see why that's super useful. No, that was going to be really great for my customers who have dogs with allergies. I'm going to use that because it makes sense to me. It solved their problem. They saw the application, and they were really excited to see my product. And again, I found that really, really validating and fulfilling to know that I was able to give that to them.
Mm-hmm. Well, Alison, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey, insights, and expertise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vanette. Appreciate it, and love your podcast. Keep it up.
Yeah, yeah. And for those for tuning in, if you want to learn more about Feed for Thought and how you can make a difference with sustainable pet food, be sure to check out their website. I will leave all the links in the description below. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the Pet Brand Podcast for more conversation with trailblazing pet industry leaders. And thanks again, Alison, to all our listeners. Until next time, keep building, keep innovating, keep making a difference in the pet industry.